So these are the 5 different barriers we're going to talk about in this video. So the first one you can see is a retractable laser welding curtain, which allows you to roll the curtain from side to side using industrial curtain track. Then in this model we have a retractable laser welding shade. Now this actually is quite unique because you can pull it side to side like a roller shade from a window, but turned sideways. And also this post allows you to roll it away completely. Also, laser barrier covers, which can be placed over openings. Not as common for these applications, but still a solution. Then we have a portable laser welding barrier. These are just like portable welding screens that are used in traditional welding. And finally, foldable laser welding panels that are also available with moving casters to form welding laser enclosures. So we're going to go through these different models, and we're going to show you a little bit about each one of them and what they can be used for and where they're the most useful and where they're not the most useful. So first up, let's talk about laser welding enclosure curtains. So this is one of the more complete enclosures for enclosing the welder. You'll notice this is kind of like a shower curtain. So the welder can go in there, he pulls this around, and he's enclosed himself in an area where he can perform the welding. And he has a very good area of protection to protect people, outside of the welding area. So the curtain track is a galvanized steel. This is modular in design. You can actually dismantle this track and then reassemble it to form different shapes if your welding cells change in the future. And it can be supported from above, which I'll show you in a second, but it can also be supported from below. So if you have like gantry cranes or anything above that is just not ideal to drop down to hold the track up, you can actually support it up to 12 feet from below. So these are great for just putting out in the middle of a shop floor. You can put them side by side if you have multiple welders doing laser welding. Also, you can get this curtain without the track, so you can purchase just the material, and these are custom made to any size you want. So you can say, give me a 20 foot by 12 foot high, and then they can be produced as such, and then you can just attach them to whatever structure you have. And of course, we have multiple materials to choose from, so this is going to be dependent on what type of welder you're using. You'll have to consult with the manufacturer of the welder to figure out what material you need, but we have single layer, double layer, triple layer. That doesn't mean there's 3 individual curtains or 2 individual curtains. It's one curtain, but they have different layers encased within the material to make sure that it's safe for the type of welding that you're doing. Here's a nice close-up shot. You can see that there's rollers inside of this track, and they have little small hooks, so this just rolls with ease side to side. And then you can also dead end this at a wall. This is a threaded rod mount coming down from above, and as I mentioned, there's multiple track styles to choose from, which we'll talk about next. So there are 6 different styles. So you have a wall mount to attach to the face of a structure, chain from above, ceiling to the underside of a structure, threaded rod from above, I-beam mount. So this is a clamp, and that clamp actually swivels, so you can actually change the direction of the clamp. And then of course, as mentioned earlier, freestanding when it's just not feasible to support it from above. Now, one of the neat developments in laser barrier closures is this side-to-side retractable laser curtain. So this is a shade. Basically, it's on a roller. So this is a lot like a window shade roller. You pull this thing sideways, and you can see we can go all the way up to 15 feet, 6 feet high, so it's quite substantial as far as the size of the shade itself. And the post that it is mounted to can be rolled out of the way. So the way this works is you can put this in a shop, you can set up your welding cells, and then you can go ahead and change the configuration based on the flow of material in and out of certain areas. And also, if you want to have multiple welding cells next to each other, you can make that configuration. It also can attach to the wall, so you can buy this shade with just this shade assembly with no posts, and then you can attach it to your walls or a vertical beam. Very versatile and does a great job of allowing for flexibility in manufacturing to quickly change out a welding area. So you can see here some different configurations that are possible. As I mentioned, you can attach it to the wall, pull it to a post, so you can get the post only and then have the shade attached to that post. And there's just a lot of different setups that you can achieve with this. It's a great solution for shops that need flexibility with layouts. Laser barrier covers are another solution, not as common or popular, but what some customers do, well, they will buy this and they will have grommets put on the perimeter or Velcro tape. So you stick the Velcro onto your frame, and then this would have sewn on Velcro on the edges, which allow you to mate up with the stick-on Velcro. So if you're a DIY project type of person, you can actually make your own frame, order these in any size you want, and then stick it onto your frame. Also, magnets are available, so something to consider if you want to do a DIY project, or if you just have a particular area that you want to cover up in your shop to protect passerbys. This is a good solution. Next up, we have our portable laser barrier enclosures. So these are essentially the welding screens that we offer, but they have the shade that blocks the welding rays. So this material is the same material as we've talked about in the previous sections. And what happens with this particular style is that you can attach multiple units together and you can form enclosures to make the laser welding booths depending on how many welders you have and what layout you're trying to achieve. So the way this is accomplished is it uses this special connector which goes down into the frames, and then it allows you to connect multiple shades together. You can take this off, put another connector on, and it just gives you a lot of versatility to make various shapes with not locking you into a preset style or layout with the initial purchase. And these are going to be less expensive than the rigid panels, which we'll talk about shortly. Casters, just like a welding screen, you can roll these around and the casters lock, or you can get no casters and just have to kind of like pick them up a little bit to move them around versus having the casters that can lock in place. So great solution for a lot of smaller welding shops that need a lot of versatility. And finally, we come to the rigid panel foldable laser enclosures. So this type of panel is a rigid panel and it does not bend. So we typically don't sell too many of these into a factory or a fabrication shop, just because if they tip over or a worker bangs into them with a high-low, they get damaged and they can break. So this more or less goes into a laboratory, someplace where aesthetics are key. So it's an option, and we do see them going to some factories and some facilities, but more or less more laboratory based. And these can be rolled around on casters. You can see they have a very nice high quality hinge, and the accordion fold very tightly together. So it's an option, but probably not an option I would recommend for a factory. They do come in these sizes, so you can get a 6-panel system all the way up to 24 feet wide, and of course you can kind of shape these into laser welding enclosure booths as you see fit. So in conclusion, depending on what you're trying to accomplish is going to steer you in one direction or the other. So the laser barrier curtains, probably the best all-around solution, and there's a couple reasons for that. First of all, it gives you the most complete enclosure, and you can run this all the way to the floor, which this particular one is not, but these are custom made so you can go all the way to the floor, and it prevents lasers from bouncing off the floor and back up, which probably rare that would happen, but it is a possibility that it could happen. So this provides the most complete enclosure and actually at the most economical price. Also, this is easy to install, drop down from above, or it can be supported from below. The drawback to this particular style is if you envision yourself changing your floor plan a lot, you're going to have to break it down or unsupport it from above and then resupport it somewhere. I guess the exception to that would be if it's freestanding. That's more easy to move. You could just have 6 or 7 guys all grab it at the same time and kind of move it around. So retractable is going to be very beneficial if you envision a lot of changes needing to take place. So you can take this barrier, move it around by rolling it, and within seconds, essentially, you're good to go. Also, this can get completely out of the way for an overhead crane, right? So a crane's over top, it's dropping down, and you're trying to move material in and out. This can be retracted and you have complete access. Whereas if you have an overhead crane with this, even if it's freestanding, you still have a bar cross member that's in the way, which is the curtain track. The laser barrier covers, these are, of course, are kind of just a unique application type cover, so these really don't fit into the booth category unless you're trying to do a DIY project where you're doing your own frame and then you want to just attach these around it. Then this would be a great solution. Save yourself a lot of money as well because you're saving on all the hardware, so you could just get this and attach it to whatever kind of structure you're going to fabricate yourself. As far as portability and speed, definitely the portable laser curtain barriers with the soft panel. Again, these are like welding screens, which every fabrication shop is familiar with. Roll around. You can tip these over. They're not going to get damaged. You can set them back up. Very easy to move. A lot of flexibility. The foldable laser panels, which are also portable, not really recommended for lasing welding enclosures for a fabrication shop, just because they can get damaged easily and they are rather pricey. So hopefully that helps you out with some pros and cons. Ultimately, the style that you're going to choose is going to be dependent on your application and your needs, but all of these will do a very very good job of protecting the bystanders outside of the laser welding booth to make sure that they stay safe from any laser contact.